Have you ever made a vellum overlay bookmark using tag dies? In this video I show you how. Hello there, Michelle Short here with Terrific Tags with Michelle. Today I have a bookmark to share with you, creating a vellum overlay to add a quote. So let's get started. This is a piece of vellum translucent paper that I'm going to create the vellum overlay with first. I'm taking the quote from the Tall Tale stamp set. This quote reads, "Between the pages of a book is a lovely place to be," and I thought that that was just such a lovely quote to put on a bookmark, absolutely perfect. I'm taking my Terrific tag die that I'm going to cut the bookmark from, just so that I can sort of see to make sure that where I'm going to place the sentiment is going to be able to fit onto the tag. It doesn't matter too much because I'm stamping the sentiment or the quote directly onto the vellum and then cutting it out, but it's still nice just to be able to make sure that there's going to be enough space. So I'm just going to prep the vellum with an anti-static powder tool, remove the excess powder so that I'm not just stamping on the anti-static powder, and then I'm going to ink up the stamp really well with embossing ink. This is a clear sticky ink that's going to allow the embossing powder that I add on top to stick to it. So I want to make sure that I get a really nice coverage of the ink, and then I'm going to press down in the MISTI. I'm being fairly firm but also gentle at the same time to not distort those thin sentiments. I'm then going to apply pure white crisp embossing powder. So I like to just apply the embossing powder a few times, tap off the excess, and then I'm going to heat set that until it's completely melted. With vellum, you do want to be careful when heat setting any kind of embossing powder. You really don't want to keep the heat tool in one place too much because it really does warp very easily. I did get a little bit of warping and I'll show you that in a little while, but I'm just trying to be as careful as possible here, and as soon as I have finished, I'm going to wave the vellum in the air so that it cools down quite quickly, and then I'm going to place some blocks over the top while that kind of hopefully flattens out slightly. I'm then going to work on the background to the bookmark. So I've taken the In the Woodland stamp, and this is such a beautiful image. It's really nice kind of thin lines. I didn't want anything too bold, but I still wanted it to look pretty. So I'm just figuring out here where I want that stamp to end up on the eventual tag. I'm picking that up with the MISTI door, and I'm stamping this onto some Classic Crest 110 solar white cardstock. I'm going to prep that cardstock with the anti-static powder tool, remove that excess powder, and then I'm going to ink up the stamp with embossing ink as well. So again, just making sure that I get a really nice coverage of that ink. This is a large image, so I want to make sure that I get a lot of ink on that stamp. And then I'm going to press down onto the cardstock. This time I'm going to apply crystal clear crisp embossing powder. I didn't want this layer to be so stark compared to the quote that's on the front, so I thought I would use clear, and although it does show as white because I'm adding it onto white cardstock, so you'll see the colour underneath, it's not quite as bright white. So I'm just going to heat set that, and then I'm going to take that Terrific tag die and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine to cut out the base layer. I then want to add some colour on top, so I'm going to use some small ink blending tools and some crisp dye ink. So I'm going in here with Ultraviolet. This is such a beautiful deep purple colour, and I'm adding that towards the bottom of the tag. I want to create kind of a blend between the purple and the pink at the top, and I want the bottom to be darker and sort of moving up towards lighter at the top. I did think that I would use that hydrangea ink. In the end, I just used that ultraviolet, making sure to try and add quite a lot of saturation of that colour at the bottom, and then, like I said, lightening it up as I go up the tag. I'm then taking the Pinkalicious Crisp Dye Ink, and I'm going to add that towards the top of the tag. I'm just grabbing a piece of satin masking tape here. That's just going to try and hopefully protect the tag from my fingers. If I've got any moisture or fingerprints or anything like that, I don't want to add it onto that ink blending. So I'm just adding a small amount of that Pinkalicious ink at the top. I do work in layers, as you can see, kind of building up the saturation with the layers. I find that the easiest way to be able to get the blend that I want. In the middle, I'm going in with Rubellite Crisp Dye Ink. This is quite a bit darker in pink, and it's going to blend that purple with the pink, if that makes sense. So I'm just going here, kind of adding it in the middle, and then I'm going to go back in with the purple to blend that out. So I do want to blend this colour quite high up into the tag, and I really love how that pink and purple blend together. Like I said, I wanted it to be really dark there at the bottom, so I am going in with a few layers just there at the bottom, and then I can just finish up with that pink at the top. Because I've added ink over to embossing powder, I do just want to remove the excess ink over that embossing powder, and it looks really nice and crisp afterwards. So I'm just taking a dry cloth and wiping that over the tag. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I do like to add a white crisp tag onto the back of any of my other tags. This just gives it stability and also makes it so that it's nice and neat on the back as well. So I'm just using some glue tape to adhere those two together back to back. Just taking my time just to line those up. I'm then going to die cut out that vellum quote. So just using the exact same die that I used on the background piece. And that does flatten it out by running it through the die cutting machine. As I was kind of sort of touching it with my hands, it did warp a little bit more, and I'll show you that at the end. But to adhere the two tags together, I'm simply going to add some baker's twine through the top. If I was doing this as a normal tag rather than a bookmark, I would probably use the thin black twine that I usually do and tie it in a bow at the top, and that would secure it a little bit more, but I wanted something flatter to be able to fit through a book. So it is a little bit loose at the top. Actually, I quite like that. It means that you can see the kind of underneath tag, so that it kind of gives it a little bit more interest, and you can pick up that vellum piece and kind of move it to the side. This shows here the warping. As I'm editing this video the next day, it has actually flattened out almost completely, but I really love how you can kind of see the background kind of peeking through that translucent vellum, and I think it works really nicely as a bookmark. I'd love to hear if you have ever created a bookmark using tag dies. Links to the products that I used will be listed in the description bar on YouTube and also over on the Altenew blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hello crafters, Jen here. For more tips, techniques, tutorials, and to discover which paper crafting products are right for you, subscribe to Altenew's YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Thanks for watching.